Okay, so
Hi, everybody. Or
hey,
hi, everybody on video.
hey guys, how are you? I don't know if you're there, but we're here and we're just saying hi. And so I guess we'll give it a couple of seconds. Or John,
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's chit chat a little bit while people make their way in. Like, how was your week?
my week has been hectic. So I obviously, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm kind of like a psychotic football fan. Okay, so I found out very last minute that I had the opportunity to attend this HR certification prep course that started on Tuesday. And don't laugh at me, but I was kind of a little like discombobulated because I'm like, it starts on Tuesday, and so Thursday night is Thursday night football, and like, did they not think this through? Like there's like the debate on Tuesday, the election is on Tuesday. Like, who made this decision? Like, this is ridiculous. Mondays and Wednesdays, did they not think about this? So anyway, I just so last night was my first night of class, and I've been battling something. My doctor actually wants me to take a COVID test because my symptoms are reflective of COVID. So, make a long story short, I last night was the first night. We all know the big debate, right? I don't miss debates. I don't miss things. I don't miss football, and I don't miss political stuff. And we had so many technical issues with the class that it was canceled because there was system issues. So I was able to catch the last half of the debate. We won't. I don't even know if we want to talk about that. I don't. We are keeping these conversations nonpartisan. And everything that I have to say is yes. So we will talk about that another day. So it looks like, I think, John, because you're my co-pilot, the Batman to my Robin. Wait, is that right? I'm so bad at these.
Yeah, you're the Batman.
Batman are like my, I don't know. Anyway, so I think we have a couple of people on. So I'm going to say hi. Hi. I wish you could tell me who's here. So hi, guys. And how was your? So John and I are just catching up. Well, we were waiting for you guys all to join. So John was asking me about how my week was, and so how are you guys doing? Day says, "Hey." Oh, that rhymed. Jared says,
Hey, Jared.
"Hi guys. How are you guys doing tonight?" Let's see if they say something back. We need you guys to talk to us. So how are you guys doing? Okay. Fine. Don't I know
They're typing. They're telling a story. There's a paragraph brewing.
Okay.
I can feel it.
I know. So as always, John and I look forward to Wednesday nights with you guys, and but I mean, I have to see how everyone's doing. So Day is watching the debate. I hope you have alcohol, Day, because Jared says the debate was rough. Yes, I think, I mean, let me say this, and I'm going to be really honest and maybe say too much. Hi, Sabrina. The debate was, it was a lot worse than I expected on both sides. It also, I think, if I'm being honest, I think the real losers are the American people. I think that we have got to do better. I think when we, I don't think, when we think about the state of our country right now, right, and what we're dealing with, the global pandemic, a recession, we have racism, we have a class war going on, we have division like we, in my lifetime, we've never seen. And the people, right, when we talk about this whole series and why we're doing this, right, because there's a need for civic engagement. Like, I deserve better. I deserve better from my elected officials, from my Senate, from my Congress. And I just, I watched the last half of the debate, and I woke up this morning feeling sick. Like, just You know, I mean,
Well, that might be the COVID.
I might have COVID. Yeah, that's true. I could have COVID. So, check on me in a couple of days. But, just honestly thinking about, wow. But then it reminded me of what the discussions we're having tonight, like why we're here, right? And what really matters. And I think, I feel in my heart, and I'd love to hear from you in the audience, I feel like it's even more important now that we continue to do the work that we're doing and educate and inform so that we can truly have some change, right? So we can have elected officials that represent our values, morals, and beliefs and are advocating for issues that matter to us, right? Because this is nonsense. And we, the people, right? We have the power. We just are not utilizing our power. So I'll get off my soapbox, but I'm going to tell you right now, full disclaimer, tonight's topic, soapbox. I mean, just put bubbles all around me because it's soapbox night. So I'm going to go ahead and let you get started. And then, me, I'll interrupt you 20 times and we'll just figure it out. I just thank you guys. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Jon, for being just an amazing co-pilot. And let's get ready to rumble. Did you guys used to watch wrestling? I love
wrestling. Used to. Hi, Sabrina. I see you have a question already. Let's see.
Yeah, that's a good topic. That's a good question, Sabrina, and we'll definitely.
That's a scary question. So we'll definitely get to that. But where we're starting is where we usually start, is to remind people that you can get all your voting information, all registered to vote. Check your voter registration status. You can now even see the statewide voter guide, all at vote.ca.gov. And if for some reason somebody is watching this from outside of California, you can go to vote.gov without the CA in the middle, and you'll get election information that's relevant to you. We're still doing the census. So if you haven't filled out your census, or you know someone who hasn't filled out their census, get them to 2020census.gov. We've talked over the weeks why these things are important. And so hopefully, if you've seen that, you know why, and you can spread that message. And if you're just coming to us new, trust us, go to these websites, check your registration, make sure your census information is up to date.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to add, well, Jon, are you going to talk about Yep. There you go. I'll add something after you take this.
Oh yeah. Well, I was just going to remind people that the ballots are going out October 5th. So really, if right now, if your registration is up to date and your address is good, you're set to get a ballot on the 5th. If it isn't, you want to get that update in, so maybe you can still get into that mailing on the 5th. But as Kim was telling me last week, was that they're probably going to start mailing before the 5th, so they can meet that deadline. So you might even get your ballot, before the 5th or right after the 5th. It could come really quick, and then you have the option of sitting down and filling it out, or putting it on top of your fridge and forgetting about it. And who knows which is the better option?
Yes. And so one of the things I wanted to say is for those folks that are living in San Joaquin County, not only are your ballots scheduled to be mailed on the 5th or probably a little earlier, now on October 5th, the San Joaquin Register of Voters office will be open to the public. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But again, if you have a family member that hasn't received their ballot, you need to get registered to vote. You can do these things online, but the representatives at the office are there. They're happy to help you. You can call. I will on the next live or even link the number in the chat. So they're there to assist you to get a replacement ballot. I want to talk a little bit about another day, like what a spoiled ballot is. If you make a mistake, please know that you can get a replacement ballot. That's something that, again, we'll talk about a little bit more, but no worries. There are multiple avenues for you to get a ballot. And if you don't receive your ballot, do not panic. You should be able to vote. The other thing I wanted to say that I think is important, I had the opportunity to attend a meeting with the San Joaquin Register of Voters office. And one thing I want to say is when you talk about who is eligible to vote, we talked about that in deep, dive on our first live. But, I'm going to put it out there. If you have been convicted of a crime and you are on parole, right, you're not eligible to vote. However, if the charges are pending and you do not have a conviction at the time of the election, you are still eligible to vote. That they have a process, even if you are in prison, and again, I just put it out there because I didn't know that. I thought that if you were even like charged, which it makes sense, right? Innocent until proven guilty. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there that the only time that it is disqualifying is if you're still currently on parole. And if you have been removed from parole, you need to re-register, because once you are convicted, you are removed from the, John, what is it called that they?
Oh, the voter registration list.
Right. The voter
rolls.
Yes. So talk to your family, talk to your friends. I just wanted to give that. I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that. And so I definitely always want to pass knowledge to you guys when I have it, because she talked about Melinda Dubnoff. Please forgive me. She talked about that, about how that was one big misconception that a lot of people in California had. And I had it as well. So, yes.
Yeah. And so once if you've gone to prison, once you've completed your sentence, you're not on parole anymore, you are good to vote. That we don't disqualify people after that. If you're in jail for a misdemeanor, you can vote from jail. Misdemeanors don't take away your right to vote at all. Community supervision. So you might be out on community supervision, which is not parole. If you're out on community supervision, you can vote. So if you're unclear, if you're not sitting in prison right now, there's a good chance that you can vote, and you should at least ask somebody, and they'll get you squared away.
Yes.
So thanks, Kim, for bringing that up, because I have talked to voters all over California and gone out, and you find people all the time who just didn't know they could vote. That you say, hey, are you registered to vote? And they go, oh, I can't. I'm not eligible. I go, are you a citizen? Yes, I am. Well, then you can vote. Believe me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I love you guys. And so, John, I have to make you laugh here. Okay, guys, we're totally, this is an interactive conversation. We're going to get to all the good stuff, but I have to kind of call out Jared since he put himself out there. So Jared, my brother from another mother, decided last night he was going to be a brave soul and play a drinking game with the debate. And so this morning I had to, check on him, and I'm like, did you make it? Because that was rough. And so he says to us, we're still recovering from my drinking game. Woo, brother, you're better than I, because anyway, I'm glad that you made it, and I'm glad that you're here. And so, John, I'm going to stay focused because y'all know I'm soapbox tonight. So John has votersedge.org. And I just want to remind you guys that this is a website that you can put your address in, and it gives you a mock ballot where you can see everything that's on the ballot in your area. Reminder that you want to put your full address in, because every area, obviously you have District 5, you have District 4, right? So you want to be able to see the information that is available to you for your ballot, right? I don't know. I believe can be used. I don't know, John, do you know if Voter's Edge is specific to California only?
It is, at least right now. It kind of is set up so that it could be outside of California, but the only thing on there right now is California.
Okay, great. So just, again, you guys, I think one great thing about this process is right, it's October, I'm sorry, it's not October, it's September 30th. We have plenty of time to educate ourselves on the propositions, on the candidates, ask questions, mark your choices, do your research. Please don't forget, Jon and I are here to help you. We're not here to tell you how to vote, but we definitely want to be able to answer all of your questions about the propositions, candidates, where to find information, where to look up budget decisions. I mean, don't forget all of the things that we've talked about when we talk about what a city council person does. Look at that votersedge.org and get to cracking, get to research and looking. So Jon, do you want me to take this or you want to take it?
Oh, you can go ahead.
Oh man, I'm talking so much. So what is on the ballot? So we have our city council members and school board trustees. Remember that, and Jon, please help me out if I forget something, just a very high level. Think about budget, fiscal planning, making laws and legislation that applies to you in your city. Where is your property taxes going? What laws you're going to have to abide by in your city? Those decisions are being made by your body of city council members. Then take that and just think about our school districts. That is the decisions that the school board of trustees are making. That is going to be on the ballot. If you are Lodi people, right? Yay, Lodi. You have District 4 and District 5. Those city council seats are up for a race. We had an amazing candidate forum that was put on by a new Lodi, which is a nonprofit organization that has just started with Jared Ditmore, Mickey Ditmore, Kat Sullivan, and they put on that. So watch that if you haven't. The Women's League of Voters, where I am a member, they also put on a candidate forum. Monday night was District 4. Tuesday night was District 5. Watch it. Educate yourself. Make sure that these candidates are speaking about issues that matter to you. We also have on the ballot state assembly and state senate. Jon does a way better job of explaining this. But think about the laws and legislations and bills at the state level. Jon did a great job of introducing a website where you could go and you could look at bills and legislation that has been passed by your assembly members. He talked about how many, state senates we have, how many state assembly members we have. And so that's kind of what we've covered so far in the last 3 episodes. We talked about, again, the importance of voting and all that stuff. And tonight, hey, Cabbage Patch, sorry, I'm so random. We're going to talk about the House of Representatives, Congress and the president, right? And, obviously, we hope that you know who the president is. If you don't, that's okay, right? Like, there's no judgment.
Well, I kind of hope people don't know who the president is. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah, there's somebody out there who just didn't know.
Yeah, so we're here to teach. So tonight we're going to talk about the Congress and the president. And I really want to encourage you guys. You guys have been awesome. If you have questions, if something doesn't make sense, please ask. There's no stupid questions. I was a trainer before. If you're having that thought, I can guarantee someone else is, but they're afraid to ask, right? So I am really excited to get started. And we're going to try to keep this interesting for you guys, because we know that the Congress and the president is probably the thing that you are the most saturated with, right? And the Senate too. But, so anyway, we'll get started, and then I'm going to hand it over to Jon, because I'm like,
yeah. So we first wanted to just give the broad strokes of our federal government, our 3 branches of government at the federal level. We have the legislative, executive, and judicial. Last week we talked a little bit about the Supreme Court and the vacancy that's there right now and what their role is. So they're one of the 3 branches. The other 2 branches are the executive, which is the president and all of the different agencies like the FBI and the military and the IRS. They're all in the executive branch. And we'll talk about the president a little bit more, but first we're going to focus on that legislative branch, which is where all the laws are written. So legislative, they write the laws, president carries them out, judges, they rule on disputes. Our legislative branch is made up of two houses, basically is what we call them, the Senate and the House of Representatives. So much like our last week when we talked about the California Assembly and Senate, it functions very similarly. Each state gets to send 2 senators, no matter how big the state, and the House of Representatives is filled proportionally. This year in California, we don't have a senator up for election because they're elected every 6 years, and so the next one is in 2 years from now. We'll pick another senator. And so I wanted to say, but we have 53 members of the House of Representatives, so 53 members of Congress. And I keep saying Congress and House of Representatives kind of interchangeably. That's because Congress is what we refer to as both the Senate and the House together. We call them Congress. But usually when somebody refers to a congressman or a Congress member, they mean one of these 53 that are in the House of Representatives. And so you see that there's 53 districts, a bunch of them in LA down there, and it's all by population. So like District 1 way up in the north is this huge green blot that spans 100 miles, but down in LA, you'll go a few blocks, you'll be in another district. And our focus is like San Joaquin Valley's or San Joaquin County's District 9 here.
Yeah. So, John, I want to go back. I have a question for you that I wonder if anyone else in the audience is thinking about this. You know, our California Senator Kamala Harris is actually running for vice president. So when you talk about the fact that, you know, they're not up for election, right? What happens if Kamala and Biden win the ticket? So what will be the impact in California?
Yeah, so if Kamala Harris wins in November, she will probably sometime between November and January resign from the Senate seat. When she does, the governor of California will have a chance to possibly appoint a temporary replacement and to possibly call a special election. And it usually depends on the timing before the next statewide election. The next statewide election isn't for 2 years. So what we would get right away next year would be a special election for that Senate seat.
Yes. And so I honestly did not know that. And so I was thinking about that, like, I guess I did. I just didn't remember. So I did some research, maybe right when the buzz was happening about before they announced. So I just thought that if I had that question, maybe someone else in the audience would want to know kind of what would be the impact from that. So good job, Jared. I think, again, it depends on the timing, but because of this, and I could be wrong, I could have read this wrong. So, John, no worries if I'm off the track here. The governor would only replace depending on the time frame of how much time is left. But in this situation, we would be able to have a special runoff election. Yeah,
and it will probably be a domino effect because whoever does get that seat is probably somebody that already has a seat of their own. And so the governor might end up having to appoint a few people down the line to different roles.
So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. So I definitely wanted to share with you guys. So we'll keep this train moving, but definitely wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, so that's it. And I would say it's very interesting in California politics land of who's going to be the next senator, because we only have two in a state of 40 million people, and so it's a very coveted position. Like people want it. And one thing to keep in mind about unlike our state assembly and state senate, the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives doesn't have term limits, meaning that once you're elected, all you have to do is get reelected, which is relatively easy. There's like a 95% incumbency rate, meaning that the person who has the job usually gets reelected by a large margin. And so it's almost like you get in, and as long as you don't screw up too bad, you get to keep your job for the rest of your life if you want it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And so the guy in District 9 here in California right now is Jerry I can never say McNerney.
McNerney. I was an intern for Jerry McNerney. McNerney.
And so we have a top two system here for these races, meaning that these are the only two people on the ballot is Jerry McNerney and Tony Amador, the Democrat and the Republican. And so our choice this coming October to November is to pick between one of the two. And we'll talk a little bit about what they do, but I wanted to go back in time a little bit to what happened last election for this seat, so 2 years ago. This is a similar graph that we've shown for previous weeks and previous towns and cities and counties. This is the graph for Congressional District 9 here in California, and that has a population of about 775,000 people, a little above average for a congressional district. And again, just going down the list as we do, 200,000 of those people aren't full people yet. They're just kids, a lot of them teenagers. 100,000 of them are non-citizens, not eligible to vote. About 5,000, it's not on the page, are in prison and can't vote for that reason. But then we have 115,000 that are eligible but aren't registered to vote.
100,000. 115,000 people are not voting, not even registered.
Yeah, not even registered. And then this might be a worse number, and hopefully this isn't the number this election, but it was last election. 165,000 people were registered to vote, but didn't vote. They didn't turn in a ballot. And then we had 200,000 people who did their civic best and voted in this election. And so this is a part where we stopped on previous graphs. We just said, okay, these 200,000 people are deciding everything. But when we're looking at a specific race, we can go one step further and ask the question, well, how many of these people actually voted for the candidate that won? And in the case of Congressman McKierney, why can't I say his name?
The same reason why it's okay. It's fine. We're family. I know Mickey, I'm sick. Mickey's like, she put a little emoji that I'm like, I'm sick to my stomach.
And so here we are. Those people in green there are the people that voted for the representative that they have. So 110,000 people out of 775,000. So about 14%, or about 1 out of every 7 people actually cast a vote for your representative in Congress. Meaning that you walk down the street and 6 out of 7 people that you see did not vote for him. They either voted for somebody else, or much more likely, they didn't vote at all, either because they decided not to or because they weren't allowed to.
So I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to get on my soapbox, because I told you guys the soapbox, the bubbles, I'm riding it. I'm surfing on the soapbox tonight. And I want to talk about this very matter of fact, in your face, attitude, sassy McSassy. When people say to me, oh, my vote doesn't matter, right? I call bullshit, right? Let's look at these numbers. 90,000 people 90,000 people. And then if you, okay, I'm so like livid. I'm livid, right? Because this is our power, right? And we're pissing it away, right? And if you don't show up, if you're not engaged and you're not having your voice be represented, I mean, what are you doing? Like when we think about our children, right, and our education system and our healthcare system and our taxes and the legislation and the death penalty and all of these major decisions, rent control, right, that are being decided in this state, decisions that not only affect our children, our bodies, and we don't show up and vote, you've got to be kidding me. We've got to get it together. And I am, there's no excuse, right? The other thing I want to say is that voting is your federal right? So if you have to work, your job has to give you time to go and cast your ballot. The ballots open at 7 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. There's going to be multiple locations where you can drop off the ballot. This year with COVID, we are very, very fortunate that California has made it even easier for us to vote. So I am begging you guys, please make sure that you are having conversations with your friends, your family members. It's not about just the people who might have a differing opinion, right? This is democracy. This is democracy, and we are just pissing it away. I'm getting off the soapbox now, but I will probably be back on it in about 5 more minutes.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Like I, at least most of the time, feel frustrated, but sometimes feel very excited that we get to talk to people who get to realize these things, and especially get to realize what kind of impact we can have, that the numbers against us are not overwhelming, that if we get organized and we get people moving, we can change whatever it is that we want to change.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to come back to this slide to talk about, we have the 53 congressional districts, meaning that we get to send 53 people to the House of Representatives. So as a state, we get to send 53, and that's out of 435. And so we have the biggest number of representatives in Congress, but there are about 380 other people in Washington, and there is a lot of arguing, a lot of compromise. Right now, and for the last 2 years or so, we've had a divided government. Basically, our U.S. Senate is controlled by the Republican Party, and the U.S. House of Representatives is controlled by the Democratic Party. And what this means is that laws that one of the houses wants to pass has to go to the other one before it can become a law. That the bills have to go to both houses, and they have to be signed by the president. What this creates is sort of a political power play situation where you have to compromise. And that's what we've seen from the Democrats so far. You might not be aware that when the federal government, all of the parts of it, the military, the FBI, the IRS, the post office, it's all on a biannual budget, basically. That if at any point either one of the houses or the president wanted to just stop, throw their hands up and say, we won't pass another bill, then the entire government would just shut down. That it's basically on an automatic off switch. That in order to keep the government going, they have to work together and pass legislation. If they do nothing, it all stops. And so we use a word like brinksmanship, where if one party wants something and the other party doesn't want to give it to them, that they might not just friendly negotiations, but say, hey, we're going to shut down the government. We're going to refuse to do anything unless you give us this piece. And so that is a very important aspect of all of this is that just having control of one of the houses gives you a lot of power, but at the same time, it doesn't give you all the power. The House of Representatives in the last 2 years has, I think, passed over 1,000 bills, some huge number of bills that haven't even been considered when they get to the Senate. That the Senate just kind of looks at that list of bills and goes, we are not even going to look at those because we know that we don't want to vote for any of them.
And so let me I'll piggyback on that really quick, John. So for the audience, right, when you think about like the stimulus, right, a lot of people are always like, well, wait, they passed the stimulus bill, right? Well, they passed it in Congress, right? So that bill then needs to be approved by the Senate. So like John was saying, so even though we've all, not we, because I'm not a member of Congress, right? The House of Representatives, even though they've all agreed upon that legislation and how they want to move forward for the American people, there is a divide in the other branch of government, which is stalling it, right? And so I think that that's important because a lot of people get confused, like, well, wait, they passed this bill and what happened? And, a lot of people honestly are wondering if they're going to get a second round of stimulus. And so, John is being a little bit more like, because he's nice, nice about like our elected officials. And so if I want you guys to think about, and I'm not going to name any names, but think about all of the decisions and the action that you see happening in Congress. And then think about the impact to your life, right? Like, and ask yourself, are these elected officials that, like John said, we keep re-electing, are they advocating for you? Are they passing legislation that you feel is having a positive impact on your life? Because if they're not, vote their asses out, no matter what party they're for. I mean, that's just really like, sorry, I'm on a soapbox with a potty mouth, so I guess I'll wash my mouth out with soap. Or maybe not. But
no, I agree that especially we do need to be critical of the people that supposedly represent us, which takes me back to this graphic that I have up again, is that from their perspective, you're the representative and you look at this chart, who are the people that you're going to listen to? Who are the people that you're going to be responsive to, that you're going to make sure they have the good laws and the good things, and you're going to treat them well? It's going to be those people in green that actually matter to you because they're the people that you have to keep happy. And so being in that green box, being a part of the people that voted, that won, has its rewards throughout the next 2 years, and that they're going to try and take care of you because they know that you're the one that decides their fate. At least that's the general theory. There's also charts that we can find and pull up that just say Congress doesn't really listen to anybody. They take money and they do what the people who gave them money say to do. So money in politics is a problem all on its own. But I wanted to give you guys this overview and vague ideas about what Congress does, mostly because you are kind of inundated with congressional race and the presidential race. But if anybody had any questions about Congress, any specific things that you didn't understand how they work, you want to know more about, like, what does Nancy Pelosi do? What is her position as Speaker of the House, and things like that? Go ahead and ask us, and we'll follow back and come back to it. I then, if it's okay with you, Kim, wanted to move on to talking about voting for the president.
Yes. Okay with me. I can talk about this stuff all night.
Yeah, so voting for the president. We've got plenty that we could say about the presidential race, about what the job of the president is and how important it is. But I have a pretty distinct feeling that everybody here knows that the president is important and knows reasons why you would vote for one person or another. I more want to talk a little bit about how we vote for the president, which is kind of like the electoral college. So we don't get to directly vote for the president. We don't have a popular vote for the president. What we do is we vote for 55 people. So California has 55 electoral college votes, which means that we get to pick 55 electoral college representatives that will go to Washington, D.C. in January or December. I forget when they go, but they go in Washington, D.C. They fill it out on paper and pen and put it in a little wooden box. And they're the ones that get to decide who is president. But we get to decide who they are. And we do that by voting in the election. And you might be thinking, wait, my ballot did not have 55 names on it. No, it just has the one name. And so here is, I put up the graphic. This is a ballot. I think this is San Luis Obispo's sample ballot from 2016. And so here in California, we have what are called qualified political parties. And each one of them gets to put a name on the ballot in November. And so it'll be the same thing this year. There's 6 parties. And so there's usually 6 candidates, or 12 if you count their vice president name with them. And that's what we see here, is that we got the Libertarian Party, their candidate, Gary Johnson, Green Party, Jill Stein, Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, Peace and Freedom Party, Gloria Estela La Riva. She was with the Peace and Freedom Party. And then we have Donald Trump and Mike Pence for the Republican Party and the American Independent Party. So last year, weirdest thing in the world in 2016, both parties nominated the same person. They both nominated Donald Trump. And so Donald Trump got both parties listed next to his name. But like I said, these are not the people that we're voting for. These are just the names on the ballot. What each of these names actually represents is, and let me pull it up now.
I'm smiling. Come on.
Kim's just watching and smiling. And
I'm smiling. I'm just like, it's.
All right, so here are the list of electors from 2016. And so each presidential candidate submits to our Secretary of State a list of 55 people that are pledged to that candidate. And so here's the Democratic Party electors. And so if Hillary Clinton wins, which she did in California in 2016, is that these are the 55 people that went to Washington, D.C. and submitted a ballot as our electoral college representatives. And these are real people. You can look these up and go see them. Some of them will be close to where you guys are. Some of them will be far away. They try and go throughout California, but some of them tend to a not insignificant number come from like the Sacramento Valley, and then from LA, and then from San Francisco.
So John, Nikki has a question. Nikki wants to know, how do you get on the list to cast your ballot for the electoral votes that are going towards the president?
Okay, so there's 2 things. So it depends is the first answer. It depends on, for one, which party list it is. Because if we look down, this is just the list for the Democratic Party. But we also have a list for the Republican Party and a list for the American Independent Party. And so each of those parties, which the party is the local party, like the California Democratic Party and the California Republican Party, they work with the candidate and they decide who's going to be on the list. So in the case of the Democratic Party, I can tell you that there's a party function aspect to it. So party leadership gets together and they kind of pick people that volunteer for the party, that donate for the party, people who it would be a fun experience for them and they want to do something for them. So it's kind of friends and family of the political elites.
Exactly.
It's not generally something that's well publicized because it's not entirely important. It's kind of just a trip to DC and you're filling out a box. Because by law, we require them to vote for the person who won, and they're picked by the person who won. So it's very unlikely that they would ever change their votes, and it's extremely unlikely that changing their votes would have any effect on who becomes president. But yeah, there are some average. To answer Mickey, I think there are some average shows that end up on this. I don't want to say that it's just like the rich elite. It's just it's kind of it's we're a state of 40 million people, and you have to pick 55. You're going to be playing favorites no matter how you do it. And so you get these party insiders. And so this is an interesting thing from 2016, which won't happen probably ever again. As you can see, the Republican Party has a list of 55 people. And so if Donald Trump would have won California, these 55 people would go. Except for the American Independent Party, they have a list of 55 people. And if Donald Trump wins, then these 55 people get to go. And I kid you not, no one knows what would have happened. That there wasn't an official decision over which list of 55 people would be used if Donald Trump had won California. Now, to talk about electoral politics a little bit more beyond these 55 people is, stop sharing screen. Go, Kim, how's it going? Checking in with you.
It's always going great.
I'm rattling off on things.
I'm loving this conversation. I think you're about to go to where I was going to prompt you to if you didn't go. So I'm listening.
Oh, maybe you're going to prompt me. Let me see. I was going to go. I wanted to show the map.
Yes, let's talk about electoral college. Yeah.
So each state gets electors. The smallest of our states get a minimum number of electors. That's kind of why we say that the Electoral College is a little bit broken. Is because this is the biggest problem with it is that populations as small as 500,000 people get 3 Electoral College votes, which is significantly fewer than what we get with our 40 million people. We get 55 votes, but that is not proportional. Like that's an 80 to 1 exchange going wrong. Like either we should get a lot more votes or they should get fewer, or the real solution is that we should have a popular vote where everybody's just counted equally. To answer your question, Mickey, he was just listed on both parties in California, and it was just a specific California way of doing things. We are also pretty special in that we have so many qualified parties. I know a couple other states do that too, where they have 6 or more parties that are allowed to put a presidential candidate up. But most of our states, you're only going to see Republican Party and Democratic Party. So that doesn't come up a lot, but it comes up here. Going back to, and I forget if I answered Mickey's question without telling everybody what Mickey's question was. He was he was asking, does that 2-party for 1 candidate thing happen anywhere else? And I have never seen it anywhere else. So going back to the map, California gets their 55, Texas gets 38, and most of these are winner takes all. So whoever wins California, they get all 55, whether they win by 1 million votes, 3 million votes, or probably around 5 million votes, I'm guessing this time around. They're going to get all 55. And that's true of most of the states, including Texas and Florida, the big states, especially swing. And so we talk about swing states are states where, for one, the difference between the Republican vote and the Democratic vote is not as large as in California. This last election, Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump by millions of votes in California. But a place like Florida, it's much closer. A place like Pennsylvania, it's much closer to where very small numbers of votes can move the election one way or the other. And so that's why our concentration is there. That's why a lot of campaigning goes on there. Like, you think you get mailers, those people get lots and lots of mail and junk mail and knocks on the door. And so I wanted to bring that up. Kim, did you want to talk about the swing states?
Yeah, I just want to add on to what you had already said. So, I know that even if you don't watch the news all the time, you're hearing a lot about swing states. And I really, Jon did an excellent job of explaining things, but I like to take things even to the granular level. And so Jon, he listed out some important swing states. So in this election, and also I like to talk about the purple state. So I learned about that with a purple state. And so a purple state is a state, I'll use Colorado as an example because I had to write my research paper on Colorado, where they don't really have a trend. Like they voted blue, which is the Democratic color. They voted red, right? And that you can't really decide if you can definitively call it a red state or a blue state. So Colorado was a state that President Obama took, and then they actually voted for Trump in 2016. And so when we're thinking about this election, right, and you are trying to educate yourself and inform yourself, Jon said it, but he didn't specifically and explicitly say it. We have some very important swing states that are up for grab right now. And I always forget one, but Jon will save me. We have North Carolina. We have Iowa, Ohio. We have Florida. Wait, is Florida a swing state this year? No, I'm sorry, Arizona.
No, Florida's a swing. It's a toss up. Yeah.
Pennsylvania, and I'm forgetting one. Jon.
Did you say North Carolina? Did you say Ohio?
I said Ohio and Iowa.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay. So,
well, I mean, Texas is it's always a possibility.
Yeah, Texas.
I mean, Beto almost won. He almost won there.
Yeah, that's true. So I think the reason why I brought it up is that, when you're watching the news, I really want you guys, first of all, again, to please stay off CNN, stay off Fox, right? Both of them, either way, are no good. Please, Jon, if you have recommendations, I personally like to research for myself, but I'm a politics nerd. I think that PBS, I think that NPR do a good job of giving the facts. NPR, I listen to it, 91.3, local Sacramento station. Try to make donations to it. I'm totally not affiliated with NPR, but I just value them. PBS, fact check. But anyway, to get back to the swing states. So I want you guys to know, like, when you are doing your research and you're hearing like what's going on, it's because most of the states, like, they're gonna, swing either red or blue, right? And it doesn't mean you don't vote, right? Because if you look at those demographics you saw, how slim the margin is. But we have these other states that really are going to be the deciding factor. And so collectively, when we talk about everything that we've discussed, right, how the amount of electoral colleges is pretty it's a little bit outdated, right? It's not reflective of population. Then you can really understand the magnitude of what's happening in these 6 states, right? Because if we look back at the last election, I don't know if you guys know that our elected official, our president, Donald Trump, did not win the popular vote. He did not. He won the electoral college. Anyway, we won't talk about that. But again, facts. I want you guys to have information and knowledge. And so there are a lot of things you can do no matter what party you represent to help, swing the podium your other way and to encourage people to vote. So just like Jon and I are connecting with you guys and we're talking about the importance, we are in desperate need of people to do that in other states. If you look back, just random fact, one of the things that I personally was very surprised to know, and Jon could probably even talk about a little bit more, is when we look back at the last election in Michigan and how okay, I'm totally on a soapbox here, but the Democratic Party just decided that it wasn't important to really campaign and connect with the people in Michigan to get their votes. I'm just going to say that nobody thought it was important. So, yeah. So anyway, totally, I'm going to get off my soapbox. And I know we're going to open up to questions, but I want to say this, and I'm going to say it again, and I don't care if you guys get annoyed with me or whatever. I educate yourselves. I'm educating myself. We can educate, we can learn together. You have a responsibility, not just for yourself, but for your uncle, your cousin, your baby's mama, your grandpa. It is on you, right, to make sure that people know how to vote, that like we are doing what we can. And again, it's not about just everyone having the same viewpoint as you, right? Democracy is a beautiful thing. And collectively, there's a lot of good that can come sometimes from having, a divided house. There's compromise, and there's a little bit more accountability. And so please, 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 guys, we really urge you to educate yourself to vote. And like, if you have any questions about the swing states, a purple state, which states are at play, how to research things for yourself, I'm going to pass you to Jon, because I kind of suck at research, but I'm learning. And I want to make sure we get to Sabrina's question that she had earlier in the program. And I'm going to start it, but I'm going to let Jon clean it up. So I'm going to go back, and Jon, I can't scroll here. So can you scroll on
I scrolled, yeah. I got it. So Sabrina asks, since the presidential election is the topic, I would like to know your thoughts on what happens if Trump loses and does not concede. Is that something we actually have to worry about?
So I'm gonna go first, and then again, I want Jon to clean this up. And you guys, I'm always gonna talk to you from the heart. I'm gonna tell you what I know and what I don't know, and when I'm talking to you from a place of bias. I think we talked about it. I'm biased. I want you to vote, right? And I think that inherently is a bias. So before I say this, I'm going to say that this is coming from a place of bias when I answer your question. I think, yes, you absolutely need to be worried. I think if you're paying attention to what is going on in our country and the strategy, right, I do think that it is being set up to challenge the election. If you watch the presidential debate last night and you listen to the answers and you have listened to the questions that have been repeatedly asked of our president, if he would accept the election results, he has made it clear that he is not. He has made it clear that he believes that the decision is going to need to go to the courts. So, not to be a fear monger, but the facts tell us that, yes, you should be worried. Yes, this is a strategy, I believe, from the campaign to disintegrate democracy. If you think about the reporting that is being done, the lies, I'm just going to call them what they are, about voter fraud, and the pomp and circus of trying to discredit our election process. That is happening for a reason. So I am going to stop there, but I'm going to again say, yes, and that you should be worried. But what we can do is to not sit in a place of worry, because if we show up, which again, this is an assumption and it's coming from a place of bias, and there is no margin, right? There's no thin margin of, oh, it's just a minuscule, this amount of percentage of people that is deciding. If we make our voices loud and clear, and there's no question, right, who won in these states, then we have a lot more traction, is what I'll say. And I'll stop there. And I want Jon to kind of make sure.
Well, I would say never before in modern history of the United States, the last 100 years, have we had to deal with this issue, with this question, with this problem, and so worry isn't the word that I would use. I would say concern, awareness. Don't let this keep you up at night. What Donald Trump may or may not do 2 months from now. We have to be aware of ourselves and our community and our friends and our family. Know that they're safe and how to keep them safe, and things like that. That right now, even long before January, Trump is going to be rolling out federal troops into our cities and communities. I don't think that they'll quite make it to Lodi, but there is concern that throughout the United States that Donald Trump will be trying to kind of elicit support through a showing of force. I have at least a little bit of faith, and maybe this is also pessimism, that Joe Biden is not that obnoxious to the Republicans, that he does not represent their doom or their end or a really solid fight. And I say that's both hope and pessimism, is that I would like there to be a Democratic presidential candidate that is somebody that they fear, that they would oppose to their dying breath. I go, yeah, I'll vote for that guy. But that's not exactly what we have in Joe Biden. Joe Biden he's there to compromise and to build bridges and to really smooth over a transition that I think this country definitely needs. So I have at least a little bit of faith that our country will not tear itself apart because Joe Biden got elected. At least that's my hope.
So, yeah, I agree, John. I like how John is much more optimistic than I am. And I definitely appreciate that about him. So, I mean, I really think that what John said about like choosing what's going to keep us up at night is really important. I think, when we think about where we are as individuals, as citizens, we're in a global pandemic. We have a lot of things that are impacting us, and, they're serious things, and I don't want to minimize that. But at the same time, I'm a worrier. I'm not going to lie. I worry. I have severe anxiety. But what we have to do is just act, right? And no matter who wins the city council, who wins the board of trustees seat, who wins the president, right? We have to be holding these elected officials accountable. We have to stay engaged. We have to stay informed, and we have to show up at the ballot when they are not doing what they said they were going to do. And I think that is the most important thing that we can do, right? And so I want to, first of all, as Sabrina's still on, make sure we answered her question, and she feels good about that. And I just want to ask the audience, is there any questions that you all might have about anything that we've discussed or what we haven't discussed? One of the things I want to say is I mess this up every week because I'm so excited. So this was our 4th live. Can you believe that? 4 sessions. We have 2 more lives planned. We have a live next Wednesday, October 17th, and then October 7th, and then we have our final live scheduled on October 14th. And so our last 2 lives are actually going to be dedicated to propositions. And John and I were talking, and John, please correct me if I was wrong. And what we decided to do, because there's a lot of propositions on the ballot that we think are important, is that we want to go into them in depth. We don't want to just give you the cookie cutter information that you can get on the voter guide. And so John and I are going to collectively pick a couple of ballots that matter to us, that we think are really important to discuss. But we wanted to ask you guys, and I guess I could do a poll in the group. Is there a specific proposition that you would like to discuss that you are confused on about the propositions? And so Day wants to know, I'm sorry, let me finish my sentence because I get my ADD brain goes everywhere. So if you have a proposition, that you want to discuss, if you have a question that you want to discuss, you can email us at info@voteraccess.org. I actually will try to get a poll up in the on my personal Facebook page and in the Lodi group, activism group, that asks you which ones. But if you have something, please let us know. So moving on to the next topic, which was Day's question. She says, question from my mom, when is the vice president debate? And you know what? Is it next week? I can't remember.
I'm gonna tell you right now. It's not important. It's not important. You don't need to watch it because it's actually on Wednesday the 7th.
What?
At like 6 o'clock our time, it starts. So we will be. We could live stream and comment on it, but that would throw off our plans. We could move our things around. Like I'm like, I don't really watch the vice presidential debate because it's like, just as a side tangent, you didn't see me talk about the vice president and all the things the vice president does, because the vice president doesn't do anything. It's not a real job. Like, that's all it is you get to call yourself vice president. You don't have any powers. You don't get to write any laws or appoint anything or run anything. You just are the vice president. You're just in case the president dies, you're president. And that's it. That's your only duty.
John, there are millions of people that you have killed their dreams. They are excited about Kamala. And
I'm excited.
It's not real.
No, it's good. Well, it's just like, she's going from a very important job, being a senator, to a job where she doesn't even get to pass any laws. Like, she doesn't get to do anything. But she gets to be out there and represent our country.
Yeah.
And so it's important, and we give it a lot of praise, but I don't care about their debate.
So I'm a former speech and debater. So last night, again, we're not even going to talk about that, but I love debate. So I watch high school debates sometimes on YouTube because I need to get a life. So I'm really, what is wrong with people? Do they not understand that we go live on Wednesdays now, formally?
Well, I guess we didn't give them the heads up that we moved it to Wednesday. I don't want to say it's our fault, but I don't know that it's their fault.
Unacceptable. Who is in charge of these decisions? So anyway, guys, I'm sorry. I'm just really appalled. How dare they have the vice presidential debate of the same night as our live? It's just like ridiculous, absolutely asinine and ridiculous. So guys, I love talking to you. I love talking about all this great jazz, but talk to us. Do you have any questions? Let's play. Okay. I don't know who's still on. It looks like 4 people are still on. So let's play a little game. Okay. Cause I love this. Who can tell me, the name of the person that has been nominated for the Supreme Court? I'm looking. John, do you think someone will chime in?
Well, they have computers and stuff, so I think somebody will chime in.
They wouldn't Google it, would they? We are on an honor system.
I'm a second away from Googling it myself because I don't remember her name.
Oh my God! Day says Amy. Amy.
Is that right?
That is right. Do you know her full name? Day, look at Day. Okay, so Day is like my friend, so I am super proud of her. So do you know her full name? I don't know how to pronounce her middle name. I'll be honest. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, so
Mom. Hi, Mama Day. So Amy, is it Conant? So it's. Here, now I'll Google it. Let me, because I totally her middle name wrong.
It's Coney Barrett. It's Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, so yes. And so which districts in Lodi are up for grabs this ballot November 3rd in this election? Which districts in Lodi?
I know one.
Okay, John, you can go because you don't live in Lodi.
I was going to say, we just talked about it. There's a congressional district that's up for election. It's not in Lodi, but Lodi is in it. So that's District 9 is up for election.
Yeah. And so we also have our city council in District 4 and District 5. So, Day, you had half of it right. And final question. Okay, I love games. Okay, final question. We got to get some voter audience engagement here. Can anyone tell me, this is a hard one. You guys know I work part-time at Starbucks. So whoever gets this gets a pound of coffee if you live in Lodi. If you don't live in Lodi, I don't know, you're up for grabs. What was the name of the organization that threatened to sue Lodi if they did not change their process of how they elect city council members? Let's see. Who does anyone know that one? Okay, hold on, John. You're like a classic overachiever here. Okay, I'm gonna 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. John, what was the name of the organization?
That would be MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund.
And I always leave out education every time I say their name.
When you start to say it, you go, it's MALDEF, and then you go, Mexican American. Oh.
Mexican American. So, I mean, these are, I might have just kind of made them into a little fun game. John, I owe you a pound of coffee.
Wait, I'm not from Lodi.
Do you drink coffee? Are you
I don't drink coffee, actually. I drink lots of soda.
Okay, we're going to talk about that offline another day. No coffee. Day, you can always have coffee. I love you. So anyway, guys, okay, so I'm sorry. I'm kind of tired and I'm delirious and I'm not feeling good. So before we go, again, any questions, anything, we've shared with you guys ways that you can look up your ballot. You can look up legislation. I think the final thing I want to say is that everything that we shared is accessible to you. John, I'm very grateful that he, did a lot of the actual research to compile these presentations for you, but it is available to you, to look at these things for yourself. Like we told you before, make sure that, fact check us, research, right? You have the power, and that once you have that knowledge, no one can take it away from you. Ask questions, challenge everything, question everything, right? That's how we learn. And that actually brings us together, right? And we share that knowledge. And so, as always, thank you guys so much for showing up and connecting with us. And please feel free to email us your questions. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week. And I think that we're cooler than the vice presidents. I mean, their job isn't even real. So just watch us instead, and, this video will be uploaded because John is amazing on his YouTube channel and my YouTube channel. And we're just here for you, and so John, do you have anything you wanted to say?
No, thank you, Kim. Thank you everybody for watching.
Yeah.
Talk to you all next week.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Bye guys.